What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Sports Nowadays 800 times. And this is Muslim. Thank you for joining us in the brand new episode of Sports Nowadays 8. Everybody make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, and make sure you hit that bell for post notifications for every video and update from our channel 8. And today we have another amazing topic, and we're discussing the best quarterback of the 2020 NFL Draft. And of course, we know Joe Burrow. He suffered that horrific injury. We just found out that he has a torn ACL and a torn MCL. Aiden, he's out for the rest of the season, and he was the number one overall pick for the Cincinnati Bengals. Aiden, yeah, Tua Tagovailoa, the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. They're looking pretty good right now, and of course, you can't forget about Justin Herbert. He stepped in that role, replacing Tyrod Taylor after he had a punctured lung, and he has been pretty successful as starting quarterback, even though the Chargers are not the best team based off their record. So, Aiden, of course, you have other quarterbacks, even though they've not started or even played in the game. Jordan Love, and that surprisingly picked by the Green Bay Packers last year's draft, right? You can go on and on and on. Don't forget about Jalen Hurts, that second round pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. But Aiden, we're discussing the three main quarterbacks in this past year's draft. We're discussing Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, and Justin Herbert. So, Aiden, in your mind, I'm going to give you the floor here. Who was the best quarterback from last year's draft? Burrow, Tagovailoa, or Justin Herbert?
Coming into that draft, Tua was my top-ranked quarterback. Obviously, he slipped down the board because of injuries. Obviously, he had that massive hip injury. He had several ankle injuries. I'm noticing a trend here with this 2020 draft class on that. Injuries are a horrible and devastating part of this class. Obviously, Tua's had some previous injuries as he was with the team of Alabama and the Crimson Tide. No matter how good they were, Tua still had suffered many upon many of injuries. Then there was obviously the Joe Burrow injury that we just now learned of will be a season-ending injury, and he is undergoing surgery as we speak. Listen, I feel and believe that we drastically underestimated Justin Herbert, right? Coming out of college, we thought of him as he was the 4-year starter for them. He was a 3-star recruit who came up out of the ranks. He was, this guy's as a game manager, he doesn't have the elites. He doesn't have all the elite capabilities that this guy has. Everybody was saying Joe Burrow was the next big thing. Joe Burrow as a prospect wasn't a Peyton Manning. He wasn't an Andrew Luck. He wasn't a John Elway. He wasn't the perfect quarterback prospect. He was more of a brash. He was his pro comp was, I believe, many people say like a Tony Romo or a Tom Brady because he wasn't the highly athletic guy, even though he ran for many upon many of touchdowns. His athleticism was kind of getting behind him. He was a very strong arm. He didn't have the strongest of arms. He was accurate. He was smart. He was this, that, and the third. Tua was the most accurate quarterback of that draft. The most athletic quarterback coming out of that draft was what most people would say would be Jalen Hurts. But I think Justin Herbert was a close second in athleticism from that draft. I know it feels like I'm dodging the question. I just got to get everything out of the way on how I feel about these quarterbacks and how I felt about these quarterbacks coming into the draft. My best quarterback coming from that draft, I believe it will be Joe Burrow. The team is going to mold and build around him, even though he has had this major season-ending injury. I expect him to come back. I expect him to be better than ever. Now, the best team right now, having the best quarterback, is the Miami Dolphins. They are 5-3. They are currently second in their division, and they are currently going to the playoffs behind the arm of Tua Tagovailoa. I believe Tua is an amazing quarterback who they took time to start and train up, and I still believe that he can be a great, amazing quarterback in the National Football League. This draft will go down in history on producing 3 top-tier quarterbacks. I can't pull the trigger on Justin Herbert just yet because he hasn't found a way to win with what he has. I don't think that the coaching staff itself, I love Anthony Lynn as coach. I think he's an amazing coach. I just don't think he's the best coach for Justin Herbert. Now, I don't think that the option is to fire Anthony Lynn, but I think is that to get an offensive coordinator who has some of the same ideas as what would fit best with Justin Herbert. So right now I have to go with Joe Burrow because he seems to be doing the best in his system. Even though we've seen the team success of Tua, I don't believe that he's had some of the success as some of the individual success as Joe Burrow. So right now I'm pulling the gun on Joe Burrow.
Aiden, the best quarterback out of this past year's draft between Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Tua Tagovailoa is clearly Tua Tagovailoa. It's clearly Tua Tagovailoa. Of course, the news to Joe Burrow is devastating, and of course, y'all know Joe Burrow. He is a win now player, but Aiden, the reality of the situation is that he is on a trash team. He's on a trash team. Right, Joe Mixon he's being put on IR pretty much every week of the year. Right, you have AJ.
Even though he's a great, amazing running back who they paid, they overpaid for Joe Mixon. He's a 1,000-yard rusher, but they overpaid for him.
Right, you have AJ Green. He doesn't want to play there. Right, I could hear him pretty much whispering. He wants to be traded. He wants to be traded. He wants to be traded. He wants to be traded, and. Right? That Bengals franchise just trash. Zach Taylor's your coach. What has he done? What has he done? Joe Burrow, if he continues to stay with the Cincinnati Bengals franchise, he will not win at all. I do not expect him to make the playoffs with the Cincinnati Bengals based on the way the roster is constructed now and how it's going to be constructed later. Now, let me move on to Justin Herbert. Right? Look at that Los Angeles Chargers team. I believe they're 3-7, 3-7, 3-7, Aiden, right? You have Keenan Allen, right? You have Austin Eckler. That defense, you have Joey Bosa. Of course, Jaron James. He's missing this entire season. Melvin Ingram, Chris Harris, right? He's been injured a couple of weeks now. But Aiden, he is a great individual quarterback. He's a great individual quarterback. I think that's all I could say about him because the system that he's in, his team, out of the Bengals and the Dolphins and the Chargers, he has the best roster. Right? Yeah, multiple Pro Bowl, multiple All Pro players on your team. One of the best wide receivers in the game, Keenan Allen. But guess what? At the end of the day, you can't win, and you choke. You can't win and you choke. And I believe that's on the coaching part of it. But is it from the player standpoint? Kind of. So yeah.
I mean, Joe Burrow's not the clutch. Justin Herbert coming into the draft didn't really have the clutch gene. Man had losses to Arizona State in OT, right? Obviously, that was a big bump on his resume. We thought he was going to lose to Utah. We thought they weren't even going to go and contend to be considered into the playoffs. He actually showed that he could win a pivotal game when they beat Utah, but the Utah game wasn't close once they got to the fourth quarter. They went to the Rose Bowl. They absolutely demolished those guys in the Rose Bowl. It wasn't even a game in the Rose Bowl. And that was an unfortunate thing. But Justin Herbert's not really the clutchest of all quarterbacks. He doesn't have the many of clutch. He doesn't have the most clutch moments I've ever seen in my life. I just think that if he had an offensive coordinator who could connect to him as a player, I think he would be a little bit better in the system that he's in.
Right. But Aiden, let me move on to the Miami Dolphins. Right, they have a team. They have a well-constructed team with one of the best coaches in Brian Flores, who should be considered Coach of the Year. Who is my front runner for Coach of the Year right now? I know I'm going off topic, but right now it's Mike Tomlin. But Brian Flores is at a close second, based on last season's performance from the Miami Dolphins. Aiden, look at Tua Tagovailoa. He stepped in for Ryan Fitzpatrick, even though, right, do I believe that decision was right by Brian Flores? 50-50 based on the success of the Dolphins when Ryan Fitzpatrick was the starting quarterback. Now you got Tua Tagovailoa. He's been pretty successful as a starting quarterback. If the Miami Dolphins make the playoffs, which I believe they will, I think Tua Tagovailoa could actually, I think he could 100% be the best quarterback coming out of this draft. If, let's say, if every player on the Chargers team is healthy, if all those All-Pro, all those Pro Bowl players are healthy, and they're going to succeed and they're going to win, of course we're going to pick Justin Herbert because guess what? He stepped in for Tyrod Taylor. We did not expect him to play this season. We did not expect Justin Herbert to play this season. Not in my mind. When he stepped
We
in.
only expected Joe Burrow to play the season, matter of fact, because we thought the starters were set in stone once we saw Tua wasn't even going to enter the game in the first 3 weeks.
Right. And you look at this Miami Dolphins team. Well, they're rolling, even though after that bad loss against the Denver Broncos, which was an inexcusable loss in my opinion. Even though Ryan Fitzpatrick did step in for Tua, I think Tua will get his act together. I think he will return back to normal, come back to earth. I think he will come back to earth, play his game style. The Miami Dolphins have one of the easiest remaining schedules in the league, and they're gonna get into the playoffs. Do I believe they're gonna be successful in the playoffs? No, not at all. Not,
Mm.
not at all. Their first round exit easily, but but they're gonna make the playoffs. They're gonna make the playoffs. The Bengals are not gonna make the playoffs. The Chargers are not gonna make the playoffs.
No.
But
No.
we're going from the team standpoint, from the individual standpoint, look at the numbers, right? It is Justin Herbert. It is
Justin Herbert has the best numbers. I can agree with you.
right. It is Justin Herbert, but I believe the team success affects the individual quarterback performance and my judgment of who is the best quarterback of the 2020 NFL draft. And missing team performance of the Bengals. And I don't think it's Joe Burrow because number one, the O-line can't protect the quarterback, which means Joe Burrow can't throw the ball. He doesn't have enough time in the pocket. Joe Burrow has the most dropbacks of any quarterback in the NFL as a rookie. As a rookie. And look where that has got him. A season-ending injury, a torn ACL, and a torn
Yeah, but we're not going to change a quarterback's game just because of his O line. Obviously, they're going to target O line in the draft. I expect them to get the best O lineman in the draft in Penei Sewell, who I believe is a once in a generation O line prospect. If they get him, I am strongly have faith that they can be a little bit better if they just put an O line around him. I expect them to make some big free agency moves just to get the O line around him. If they can get the O line around him, Joe Burrow is going to be great. Joe Burrow, who I have an opinion on the dropbacks, as you said. Joe Burrow has a dropback style similar to what I would say the Great Show on Turf when they had the Fred. Oh, there you go, Fred Warner. When they had Fred Warner, right? Obviously, his left tackle was a Hall of Famer in Orlando Pace, one of the greatest offensive linemen of all time, who was guarding for him as he made that 10-step drop, as he made a 10-step drop offense. They had Marshall Faulk. They had amazing receivers. They had Isaac Bruce. That's what I think that they can mold this offense into. Because obviously, I agree, Joe Burrow takes a whole lot of drops, but Joe Burrow also had the best O line in all of college football last year. The man's not used to things that are happening. He had Joe Brady as offensive coordinator. He was rolling. He had the best offense in the entire nation last year, the best receiver in the entire nation last year. Was just a shock for him. I think that he can get back on track next year as they build that O-line, as they get better players around him. I think that you're right. The first step they need to do is get an O-lineman, because that man takes it a ridiculous amount of drops. But you're not going to change the style of quarterback he is right now. Don't do that. You're going to ruin a genius if you change the style of Joe Burrow's quarterback play.
I understand your point of view, Aiden, but I believe the Bengals are going to be a losing organization for the next 5 years. They're going to be a losing franchise and a losing organization for the next 5 years to come. And Aiden, I still believe that Tua Tagovailoa will be, as he is right now, the best quarterback of the 2020 NFL Draft. Aiden, I think it's time to close out this episode. Very great additions for Zardis. And I'm Darius Simons, and that's Aiden Must. And then for Johnson's brand of special editions for Zardis Aiden. Aiden, like, subscribe, comment down below, and make sure to hit that bell for notifications for every video and update from my channel. The bigger episodes coming every single day of the week. I'm Darius Simons, and that's Aiden Must. And we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Peace, love.